Welcome to Beat Diabetes. Today you are in for a treat. Now I'm going to share with you an interview I did with an 85-year-old lady who has seen tremendous results in overcoming high glucose levels through a change of diet, and believe it or not, also through fasting. As I was talking to Ann Popejoy on the phone, she told me she comes through McKinney, Texas frequently, so I arranged to meet her at a park there, and I interviewed her about her experience in beating diabetes. Well, folks, I am happy to have an octogenarian. Is that the right term, Ann?
I think it is.
An 80-year-plus lovely lady named Ann Popejoy, who's going to share her story. Ann, welcome to Beat Diabetes.
Thank you.
I have been eager to meet you and been thrilled that you agreed to do this interview because you've got a remarkable story. And of course, this channel is all about diabetes, which strongly hints that you've struggled with diabetes in your life.
I have.
So what I like to do is to just go back to the beginning of when you first got the diagnosis. How did that happen? Was it a gradual sliding upwards of your glucose, or was it out of the blue? How did that happen for you?
I went for a normal checkup, and the doctor said, I think you need to have a glucose test, and they gave me that awful sugary water, and then the diagnosis came back that I was a type 2 diabetic, and they immediately put me on metformin, and as months, it seems like months, maybe some years passed, because this was 22 years ago.
Okay.
My medicine increased all the time. Now, he told me that if you'll eat right, you know, eat lots of salads and greens and all in moderation. He said you can stop its progression, but you'll never cure it. So from now on, most likely your medicine will increase as time goes by, but you need to keep up the exercise, and you'll have a healthy life.
Okay, so he's saying your medicine will increase, which is indicating that you're actually going to get worse, but we'll just keep piling on the meds and try to keep it at the same level.
Yeah, that was the conclusion I ultimately came to.
And that's what I would come to as well. Now, that was 22 years ago.
22.
You are almost 86 years old. So what was your response to that? Were you like, I'm going to beat this, or like, well, if I just do what the doc says, I'll do pretty good? What was your reaction?
It was more the latter. I think at the time I'm in middle of building a business and doing a lot of travel. I was in home health, had companies across the U.S. I was busy and I didn't have time to worry about it. So I took the medicine and tried to lose weight. I was pretty stout, if you like,
okay,
in those days, and I did need to lose weight, and I really tried to do that, but that's very hard when you're eating out a lot and on the move and getting the right food and that sort of thing. So I gradually lost some weight.
Okay.
And but not. It was only later that when my mother and father died in their late 90s that I thought maybe I better pay closer attention.
How long ago was that?
6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 for one, and one died a couple of years later. So actually, when I retired at 80 in 2015 is when I had some time for me. And I thought, well, I'm going to find out what else I can do to stay healthy.
Now, let me stop you for a moment, and let's try to get a handle on just how bad your diabetes was. Do you know some of the A1Cs, like the A1C when you first got diagnosed, or down through the years? Or?
Through the years, I've kept it for 15 years. I have, and I've got all my readings. Every time I went to the doctor, I've got all of it for 15 years.
Okay.
And it has been as high as 14.
As high as 14?
As high as 14.
Did you realize just how
Only
terrible
after
that
I
is?
took it. Only after I took it, or I go to the doctor. I did not take my sugar very often. I was not the meter was not my friend. I don't remember the doctor telling me to take it all the time. I mean, you took your pill every day or you took your shot. I was told if I'm going to have a big meal, take a little more of this or do a little of that. I just don't remember them emphasizing taking my sugar very frequently. Maybe when I got up in the morning or maybe before I just don't remember that.
Now, you would go see the doctor, what, every 3 months, 6 months?
Oh, probably every 6 months.
Now, did they do an A1C
They
on
would.
you then?
After I was diagnosed, they would.
Yeah. And so those as high as 14 and...
At one time it was, and I did pay it closer attention because they kind of alarmed me a little bit at that. I would say mainly my sugars have run in the 7s and 8s after I got a little better hold on it.
Yeah. Now, being a diabetic for that long, in many cases people begin to experience symptoms like neuropathy, like constant urination and different things. Did you have any symptoms at all?
I had both of those, and mainly I could feel the neuropathy coming. And remember, I'm in home health, so I knew about that. Yeah. And I wanted to do exercise, and I began to think closer about maintaining the A1C lower. But, you know, again, it was just hard to do while I was working.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had as high an A1C as 14, but your normal was more like 7s and 8s. So you obviously did something at that point that kind of helped. What were the steps you took at that point that helped?
Probably quit the pies and the cookies and things like that.
The basic stuff.
The basic things, nothing extraordinary, really.
No. So you kind of went along diabetic, accepting the fact you were diabetic, just trying
always gonna be.
Always gonna be. But you wanted to be at the lower end of diabetic, not at the extreme end, and you managed that fairly well. And so year after year goes by, pretty soon you've been at this diabetic thing for almost 20 years. At some point, you mentioned how you did some research, you ultimately made some changes. Let's talk about that, but before that, I want to go back to something you shared in one of your comments, which was that when you really got your glucose under control, you were saving like $1,000 a month on your meds. What kind of meds were you taking that cost that much money?
Victoza is one, and Levemir was the other, and those are both shots. And I could afford it, and the doctors would give me
insulin injections.
One is an insulin and one is not.
Okay.
The one is a slow-acting insulin, and they wanted me to take 10 units a day, and I did, and I ballooned up in weight really fast.
Welcome to the club. That so often happens.
I went back, I'd cut it in half to 10. But if they wanted me to take it, it was like I thought, well, I must need something. So maybe then I began to watch my food a little more carefully. But it really wasn't until after I retired, which was in 2015, at 80, by the way, that I decided I paid closer attention to me. And it was from people like you and others on YouTube that talked about the possibility of reducing your medicine, if not give it up altogether. And I thought, oh ho, I'm interested in that. I am interested in that. And I have read and looked at everything I can get my hands on. And that's when I realized how much money I was spending. I thought, I could do a lot more money. I could do more with that money than putting in my body.
Right.
So I've landed on the way of eating, which is high fat, low carb.
Did it take a long time for you to become convinced of that? Did you have a lot of reservations?
Couple of years, because I just struggled with learning about it. Nobody in my town even knew about it.
Yeah.
I had a chiropractor that I had gone to because I had serious back problems and weight, and she recommended that I take a look at this, but she didn't teach it, she didn't help, and that really pointed me the way. And then some of the other people on YouTube, as I was watching them, certainly mentioned it. So that's what I did, but I really got serious last January.
Okay, so what were some of the changes you made in your life and in your diet that made such a difference for you?
Well, number one, I could eat fat. Otherwise, I was not eating fat. That would make you fat, you know. No, I didn't want to eat fat, and I thought, surely that's wrong. But as I read and listened, I thought, no, let's do it. And in truth, you see, my family came from country folk in that they were farmers, and they raised their own food and their chickens and their cows, and they ate cream and milk, and they ate farm products, and my mother, until she died, fried in lard, and you couldn't even buy it. I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe that makes sense, and they were reasonably healthy.
She lived to be
93.
93. Not too bad.
Not too bad. My dad, 96.
Wow.
And he golfed right up to the last year. Anyway, I began to think maybe that's right. So I decided I'm going to do it. Well, I started at a bad time before Christmas. And going through Christmas trying to eat that way and figuring it out as I go. Wasn't that easy, but come January 1, I took my RV and I went to South Texas. And while there, I had no friends there. It was a brand new place. I'm just getting in a warm place. I bought only the food it said I could have. I bought olive oil, avocados, some salad greens like spinach. I made my own meals and put them in portions so that I could have fresh every day. And then I discovered fasting. I knew nothing about fasting. I just didn't. And I'm a Bible student, if you like, and I've heard of prayer and fasting, but it didn't relate. Did not relate. Anyway, I found out that maybe the most important thing about the eating is fasting. Because I can get my sugar up today and fast for 24 hours, 48 if I really want to, and it'll come right back down to 85. And when I say up, it might be regularly at 130, you know, today. I might, because on my body, I can eat for several days like normal, but the sugar wants to rise a little at a time. I've discovered that of myself. And it'll hit 130. It won't come down because I don't take anything. And so I got a pill that will make your pancreas kick out a little extra insulin.
Right.
And I use that for emergency if I'm where I can't do the fasting. But I maybe take one or two a month. I try to stay away from all of it.
Yeah, one thing you said, we've talked on the phone once and we've sent emails, but and I don't remember which one it was, but you mentioned the fact that you feel that fasting kind of resets you.
It does.
And gets you back down. I really was alerted by that statement because that's what I found as well. It's like if I go too long without doing like a 36-hour fast, it kind of, my fasting glucose in the morning particularly starts creeping up. Then I do a 36-hour fast and then it gets down to a real nice level.
That's right.
And so I've found that it does seem to reset me.
And what I've discovered for myself, after I stayed 6 weeks, I took a sabbatical, only ate the good stuff, and fasted. I fasted up to 72 hours one time. But I'm working to get it down, and I went off of medicine within a week. Because you can't take the medicine and fast.
Yeah, that can be a danger.
You can't take the medicine and eat without carbs. So I didn't require the medicine. But I had everything there because I didn't really know how my body was going to act.
You were watching things closely.
I was watching it very closely, and being in home health, I knew maybe more than the average Joe, you know. But I'm not medical. I'm not a nurse or anything. Anyway, I watched it, and by the time I got home, I'm off my medicine altogether, not at all. And my sugar's good, but all it takes is one meal. Wrong meal. I found out I could have 2 tablespoons of mashed potatoes, and it's out the roof.
Okay.
So, I mean, very little takes. So I am under 20 carbs a day.
20 grams.
20 grams, yes. And actually less than that if I am paying close attention. I don't go over 20.
Yeah. So when you made the changes, you're testing yourself frequently?
Yes. Oh, 4 to 5 times a day.
4 to 5 times a day. Did you begin to see results quickly?
Yes, absolutely, very quickly.
Very quickly.
But I did couple it with fasting. I read enough that the fasting helped bring that high. And the point is, as you are diabetic, it goes up fast, it stays. Mine won't come down. Like a normal person will come down in an hour or 2. Not mine.
Okay.
Mine might be up 6 hours before it would normally come down. So the trick has been, as time passed, I'm beginning to see that it's coming down sooner.
Okay, that's a very good sign.
130. Because I read, it took me a long time to get there. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about fasting. A lot of people are under the impression if you're in your 70s or 80s, forget it. It's just not a healthy thing for an older person to fast, but it doesn't seem to be your experience.
I don't believe that a bit. I just don't believe that.
Okay.
I'm healthy, and of course exercise is a big part to stay active. I think that if I sat on the back porch and rocked like I'm inclined to do sometime, that I would not be healthy. But exercising, and there's a story about why I even exercise. Besides the fact that you need to.
Right.
I don't like walking. I don't enjoy that. It's not my thing, and a lot of people just love to get out and walk, but I want to do something different, so I couple that with golf.
Well, yeah, you play golf, what, a couple times a week?
At least, and I go to a lot of tournaments until it gets too cold.
Yeah. Very cool. So you made the change, you saw on your meter things are getting better. What kind of A1C did you get next time around?
The last time I went to the doctor, which was in June, because I went on a 3-month summer hiatus, it was 5.8.
5.8.
And it was 6.7 the 3 months before that.
Okay, so and before that it was in the 7s?
Oh, with 7s. Historically, it would be 7 point something for months and months. Sometimes I go back and I look at, I have been as low as 6.5 somewhere in time, but as I got older, the higher it crept.
Yeah. And you just went on like that for almost 2 decades.
Yes.
And now you're back into the 5s, which you probably haven't seen as an A1C in quite a few years.
I don't have a single one in the 15 years that I actually had in the 5s. The lowest I had was like 6.3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was years ago.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is, by the grace of God, you made some decisions that affected your glucose levels and brought you from a dangerous diabetic level to a non-diabetic level, mostly by the food you put in your mouth and the food you didn't, and then also the exercise.
Well, and for the ladies that are interested, I was a size 12 in December of last year.
Okay.
I am now a size 6.
Wow. So you lost a lot of weight. How about blood pressure? Did you ever have blood pressure?
I never had a serious blood pressure, but I do take that. That's part of my lab that I have. My blood pressure in the mornings are usually higher than the afternoon, but 136, 138 over 70.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, at about 116 over 70.
Okay.
I'm fine on that. I don't have any heart issues, nothing that I've ever been told about. I just had diabetes.
Yeah.
I had backaches. I had a sciatica, awful.
And that's gone.
And totally gone. None, zero.
Wonderful. So you have done yourself a world of good by making some change. You said something as we were setting up for this interview that intrigued me. You said, You know, you have the worries about cholesterol by going to a high-fat diet, but then if you don't, you have the worries about high glucose. And you finally decided what? Tell us what you finally decided.
Well, I had to, if I was going to choose, I'm going to go with the devil I know, which is high sugar. I know the damage that will do.
Right.
And I have a brother who was a type 1 and critical at the age of 19. He died at 65 and had one leg cut off twice. And he had a pump, and he was on insulin from the age of 19. Now, I've lived that. I've seen it. I spent a lot of time with him. Now, type 2s don't typically turn that bad that soon, but they can.
Yes,
they can have very serious, and I didn't want that. And so many of my peers, Dennis, so many of my peers were in nursing homes the last few years of their life. I don't want that either.
Right.
I'm in my home and I'm going out on a gurney.
I love it, love it. Well, I thank God for you, Ann, and your powerful story. Why don't you just give a word of encouragement as we bring this interview to a close? There's people out there. The one thing I'm always aware of is that there's always a new batch of viewers to our channel. The people that just found out last week or 2 weeks ago they've got diabetes, they're scared to death. Give them a word of encouragement.
Oh my goodness, you don't have enough time. Here's the thing, I know both men and women that have diabetes, and so many take the recommendation of their doctor and they never go any further. They never search out if there might be an alternative. And there is alternatives. I know there is. I have done it. And the doctors may or may not know about that alternative. So read, ask people. There's a lot of good things on YouTube. Dennis is one of the representatives that I like to recommend. But there's a lot of others that will talk to you not only about how to control your diabetes through food, not medicine, and how that cholesterol is not the devil that they make it out to.
Yeah. So what are you doing with that $1,000 a month you're saving on meds? Are you finding a way to spend it?
Oh, I am. Trust me, I am.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Ann, for sharing with our Beat Diabetes viewers.
Thank you.